Hello, Nets fans. Welcome back. I've not talked to you guys since the unfortunate Game 7 against Milwaukee, so probably a couple months by now. I mean, it feels like it happened yesterday, but a couple months ago. So we'll go over a lot of topics here. A lot's happened since then, of course. Kevin Durant extended, Patty Mills, Blake Griffin, Bruce Brown, James Johnson, the Shamet trade, DeAndre Bembry, Jeff Green, all those things, the draft. I mean, I'm not a big NBA draft junkie, but I went back and watched some of these guys' highlights. I'll talk about what I saw, how I think they will contribute for the Nets in the 2021/2022 season. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and let's get into it. So I meant to go in order, but that's probably not going to happen because I wanted to start with the Kevin Durant news, probably the biggest news on here. 4-year extension, almost $200 million, 198 to be exact. That's huge, of course. And, there were some people, some jabronis out there that thought that the big three were going to up and leave after next year. I never thought that personally. We got one of them back, probably the most important guy, if I'm being honest. Now we just need James Harden and Kyrie Irving to follow, whether that's this offseason or next offseason. I don't know if that can work for this year based on how the salary plays out and stuff, but I do feel that next year at least, at the latest, they will all be back. I think that Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden will be here for another 3 or 4 years. And that was one of the problems when the James Harden trade was made. Some people thought it would be a Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce situation. That definitely went through my mind as a Nets fan. But still, it's not the same thing because these guys are younger than KG and Pierce were. They will be here for more than just a year like those guys were. Well, KG was here for a year and a half, but you get it. So, yeah, I think that's obviously a great move. I love it. I was very happy to see Kevin Durant's back for the long haul. Hopefully he retires as a Brooklyn Net. Last year looked like possibly the best player in the NBA. Some people think he's the best player on the planet currently. No arguments out of me, so happy he's back. For the guys the Nets re-signed, Blake Griffin and Bruce Brown. So realistically, going into this offseason, based on how the salary cap was going to work, they had 3 main free agents: Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, Blake Griffin. They were probably going to be able to keep 1 or 2 of those guys. So the fact that they got 2 of them, I'm thrilled about that. And honestly, if I had to let one go, I was probably going to say Bruce Brown, but I guess Jeff Green would have been my second choice. Now, Blake Griffin's the one I wanted to keep the most. That may surprise some people, but Blake Griffin played a pretty big role for this team, especially in the Milwaukee series after the guys got injured. He was probably their second best player because of how Joe Harris was playing. So I'm happy Blake Griffin's back. I believe he's 32 years old. It is a 1-year deal. I think Blake can play at a pretty high level for 1 or 2 more years. He might decline after that, but for right now, I'm happy Blake is back. Jeff Green's going to be 35, I believe, next year, so you start to wonder when he might decline. He dealt with plantar fasciitis in the playoffs last year. Obviously, Jeff Green was amazing for this team. He shot like over 40% from 3. He was a great stretch 4 type guy for this team. So it sucks to lose him, but they realistically could not bring him back. I think he signed for 2 years and $10 million with the Nuggets. Now, Bruce Brown signed the qualifying offer, whatever this stuff means. There's so many terms in NBA, off seasons. I don't understand most of the stuff, but he signed his qualifying offer. It wasn't that much money. I think I wrote down somewhere how much he got. It was $4.7 million next year. Blake Griffin was the vet minimum, so that's probably not much at all. So that was great to see, of course, for the Nets as a team. But yeah, getting Bruce Brown back, I guess, is pretty big because he's a unique player. Like, some guys can walk out the door and you can replace them, but replacing a 6'5" center, basically, and Bruce Brown is pretty much impossible to do. There's not many guys that play his type of basketball, his type of style. And part of me believed, and I think some other people believe this as well, when the Nets made that draft night trade for Javon Carter from the Phoenix Suns, there was a chance that that was some Bruce Brown insurance, and maybe it was, but they ended up getting both guys, so that's fine. But I'm happy to get Bruce Brown back. If he can really just work on that three-point shot a little more, he can be a really dangerous role player for this team. He already was last year, but could be even better. Bruce Brown, I don't know what he shot off the top of my head, but he was pretty good from the corners. Wasn't really good from the top of the key or the wings, but if he can work on his three-point shot and get it around like 38, 39%, if that's possible, that would be fantastic. As for Blake Griffin, I think he shot 38% from 3 as a Nets. He definitely stretched the floor a bit. Definitely could dunk still. We saw that. Played some pretty good defense on Giannis at times, and then other times it wasn't so good, but did all he can. So, yeah, I'm happy both guys are back. Sucks to lose Jeff Green, but I guess, they had to lose one of those guys, so it is what it is. Now for the trade, on draft day, draft night. I think it happened at like 5 o'clock, so draft afternoon, you can say. They traded Landry Shamet, who was basically here for 1 year, unfortunately. I mean, Landry Shamet, I think, had 1 year left on his deal, so I guess they got rid of him before having to pay him more money. I get it from that perspective. They got a draft pick plus Javon Carter. I wasn't too familiar with Javon Carter. Went back and watched a lot of him. Very good on-ball defender. He will pick you up full court. I expect a lot of defensive intensity from him. His offensive game is inconsistent, but he has some talent. He can create his own shot sometimes. His three-point shot isn't the best, but it's also not terrible, so he will make some for you if you need him to. But yeah, he can handle the ball a bit, so I think he might help this team in some ways. He'll be a bench player for sure. But if the Nets have a tough playoff matchup against a really good scorer, let's say they face Jason Tatum once again, you can throw Javon Carter on him and try to help slow him down or something like that. So I think Javon Carter has a role for this team. I think he sticks for next year. I think he'll make the team, obviously. So Javon Carter will have a role for this team. He may not be as great as Landry Shamet was. Not saying Shamet was great, but may not be as impactful as Shamet, but still, he'll help this team next year for sure. Now, the free agent signings. Patty Mills was a fantastic signing. Going into this offseason, my number one concern as a Nets fan was this team needed a ball handler, a guy that can run the offense behind James Harden and behind Kyrie Irving, because God forbid those guys get injured again. They actually have some insurance this time. They had Mike James last year. Mike James was fine at times, but Mike James is not who you want running the point during a playoff series in the second round. No offense to him, but that's just how it is. But Patty Mills is a very solid veteran, really good shooter, pretty good ball handler. He's not Kyrie Irving level, but a good ball handler, good enough, can distribute, great in the corner from three. I think he'll be a great fit for this team. Not sure where exactly he'll play in the rotation, because usually the Nets played it as obviously the big three would start. Harden, KD, Kyrie would all start together. Then KD and Kyrie went to the bench, and a lot of it was James Harden playing with the second unit. But now maybe you can send James Harden to the bench and have Patty Mills run the second unit. There's a lot more versatility with the lineups now for Steve Nash, so that's definitely some good news. But Patty Mills will definitely play a big role for this team. And I will say, if Patty Mills was there last year, I guess it was technically last year. If he was there for the Milwaukee series, the Nets might have won, because Patty Mills would have made that much of a difference, because there was so much pressure on Kevin Durant to bring up the ball and do so much scoring for this team. And Patty Mills could have been the difference maker there. Obviously, they had James Harden playing at 50-60%, but having Patty Mills there would have been a very big difference for the Nets. They also made a couple of other minor free agent signings. James Johnson, the veteran wing player. He's more of like a power forward, small forward, but he's played for how many different teams? Like 7, 8 different teams on this list here. He played for Toronto, played for Miami, Memphis, Sacramento, Chicago, whole bunch of teams. But I don't know what to expect from him. Based on his numbers, he may be declining a bit, but maybe playing for a better team might help him out a bit. I have no idea. Maybe he'll be rejuvenated in some type of way, but not the best shooter, but can play some defense. Kind of gives me some Wilson Chandler vibes, but at least it's kind of he's more of a tough guy. He will bring a nice edge to this team. So I guess there is positives to this signing, but definitely a drop off from what Jeff Green was giving them, obviously. But he is 6'7", 240, good size, can guard multiple positions. So I do like that about James Johnson, but not much on the offensive end to expect from him. Now for DeAndre Bembry, I kind of like this move. It was more of a low-key type signing. He didn't get his deal wasn't fully guaranteed, but I did like this signing because he's a very good athlete, and the way he was playing the passing lanes on defense was unbelievable. His anticipation is great. I love that about him. So, once again, good athlete, good rebounder for his size. I feel like he'll bring some edge on defense here. So, shooting-wise, not the best here. He does shoot 51%, a three-point percentage of 26, so obviously not going to help much there. Decent ball handler, but he is 6'5", 210, so once again, some more size for this team. But Bembry is a sneaky athlete. Will he be a key contributor for this team? Probably not, but there's a chance that he might help in some situations when guys are out. So it's not the worst move in the world. I will take that for a 1-year deal. So now on to the draft. I'll talk about the 5 draft prospects the Nets got. And, some channels do great work on putting out the strengths and weaknesses of these guys. So, I watched highlights plus some of those videos, and I'll try to just tell you guys what I saw. So Cam Thomas, 6'4", 210 out of LSU. Just known as a great scorer, had that really good step back going to his left. Very good at driving to the basket and getting contact and getting to the free throw line. That's a big thing for him. I noticed that for sure. The downside for him is he's not much of a playmaker, doesn't pass the ball much, as we know, not known for his defense or like rebounding, but Cam Thomas does give you a pretty decent ball handler and a very good scorer. We saw him score the ball yesterday or 2 days ago when I posted this in the Summer League game yesterday, or 2 days ago once again. So Cam Thomas may have a role on this team. He won't have the biggest role, of course, but being 19, 20 years old, it's hard to see him come in here and be like a big impact player, but for the inevitable nights where James Harden or Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant are out due to rest or injury, hopefully not a long-term injury, but if they're out, Cam Thomas may be asked to come in here and score a bit. He can come off the bench, give you 8 to 12 points quickly, and then that'll be his thing. He might be like a Jordan Clarkson one day. I've heard that comparison. That would be fine, of course, but being 19 years old and playing for LSU, it's hard to imagine him coming in here making a huge difference, but we'll find out what type of role he has. But I do like him, what he brings offensively, of course. I do enjoy that. So the guy can score the basketball. He has some potential. He was supposed to go earlier in the draft. So right now it looks like a good value pick, and we'll find out if he works out for the Nets. Next, we have Durant Sharp, who is 6'11", 265 out of North Carolina, 20 years old. And, you know, the Nets are in a weird situation with big men right now. They have DeAndre Jordan. He did not get traded. A lot of rumors where he was going to get included in a package with a draft pick or two just to get his salary off the team. But I guess Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving want to keep him around, and he's here. But you can't keep DeAndre Jordan and have him get DMPs in like the first month or two of the season. Like if they keep him for $10 million a year just to be a locker room guy, that's ridiculous. Like he has to play next year. I expect that DeAndre Jordan will play the first couple months of the year until a guy like a Durant Sharp gets implemented into this team or a Nick Claxton gets better. I don't see a way that DeAndre Jordan goes the entire season without playing. He did not play much the last month and a half or so of the regular season, plus the playoffs. But if that happens again next year, getting $10 million, that's ridiculous. But anyway, for Durant Sharp, I liked a lot of his game. He was kind of the opposite of Jared Allen. Jared Allen's not coming out of Texas. Not only did people question if he loved basketball or not, shout out to Jared Allen, by the way, for getting 5 years, $100 million. Very happy for him. But the knock on Jared Allen was he was too timid, too shy. He wasn't like, doing enough grown man type stuff. And I know he was very young. He was drafted at 19 years old. But Durant Sharp is the complete opposite. That guy is bodying for positioning down low. He's getting a ton of offensive rebounds. He's always boxing out. That's the one thing I noticed right away about him. He's very good at boxing out. When the ball is up in the air, he's boxing out his guy, whether it's on offense or defense. He crashes the boards. And sometimes crashing the boards on offense will lead to transition buckets going the other way. But more times than not, he averaged, I think, 3.4 offensive rebounds per game. It says here, this is thanks to the Brooklyn Nets website, by the way. But yeah, Sharp will bring a good rebounder. He has really good hands. I noticed that, of course. Like catching those quick passes down low can be tough sometimes. We see some guys struggle with that, but not an issue for Sharp. Also a pretty good passer. I saw in his highlights, had some pretty impressive passes for a big guy. Definitely has a good idea, understanding of the game, so I do like that, of course. He just has that like intensity you want from a 19, 20-year-old. So I feel like he actually might work out for this team. I don't want to make like a bold prediction right now, but if he's starting at some point at the end of the year, it wouldn't shock me. I know he's 19, 20, but like the Nets really don't have much center depth right now. They could sign somebody else, but we'll find out because I don't see DeAndre Jordan lasting the entire season. I don't know like what happened last year with him, but if Durant Sharp earns a role on this team and ends up being a contributor, I would not be surprised. Like I think his path to playing time is better than a guy like a Cam Thomas. And I think Cam Thomas is probably a better prospect, but Cam Thomas plays the same position type as a James Harden or a Kyrie Irving or a Kevin Durant, being like a scorer. So if you talk about a Durant Sharp who has to basically compete with DeAndre Jordan and Nick Claxton, I definitely like his chances more of getting playing time. They also got Kessler Edwards out of a school I never heard of. I forget, Pepperdine? I don't know what it is. But he has a weird-looking jump shot, I will say that. He has length on defense. He's a pretty good shot blocker. His shooting percentage can get a bit better. Not the best like ball handler, so my expectations here are not too high for a guy like Kessler Edwards, but I like his frame, his length and his size. That's definitely intriguing. The jump shot could definitely get worked on a bit. I like the block shots. I like the defensive potential here, so it has a chance of working, but my expectations are not too high, especially in year one. For Marcus Zagorowski, 49th overall. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that one right. But 6'2", 180. He looks smaller than 6'2", so I was surprised to see that. 6'2", 180. Really good three-point shooter. I want to see if the percentages are here. A 47% from the field and 42% from three, 77% at the free throw line. So guys are really good catch and shoot type of guy. He can shoot off the dribble very well too. Has a nice floater to his game. He just looked very small out there. And I should not be talking. I'm 5'9", but still, for an NBA guy, 6'2", 180 looked a bit small out there at the college level. So that kind of concerns me if he can have like the playing strength right away. But we'll find out. Definitely known as a very good Big East player. He's 22 years old, so we'll find out what he can do in year one. He may have that Chris Chioza type role or Mike James type role. Would not shock me if he got that, but he does have some potential. I do love the way he shoots the ball. His form's very nice. He can create his own shot. He can distribute the ball for others, kind of like run the offense. So I do like that about him. I think there is some potential here with Zagorowski. Now, their final pick, Raquan Gray. This guy was interesting. He's, 6'6"? I think he's 6'6" and 260 pounds. Has a very odd frame, a big guy. Kind of like a semi-Ojale type build with the Celtics. I think he went somewhere else, Ojale, but he kind of has that type of build, just a little bit bigger. But he was kind of like this point forward type guy. Had really good vision, made some nice passes. He's a low driving to the basket, but my concern about him is that he was a junior last year playing against guys that are smaller than him. How will he be able to basically transition to the NBA playing against guys that are mostly his size? Because he was getting by a lot in college based on his grown man strength. Now, that probably won't happen in the NBA as much, so can he get by in the NBA with that? But he does have impressive balance. He has some nice dunks, pretty good rebounder, a good finisher at the basket. So there is a lot to like about him, but I feel like he can be this weird, here it is, 6'8", 260, yeah. He can be this weird point forward type guy for the Nets. Not sure what type of role he would have. He might be a G League guy for a little bit, but still, I think there is some potential here if he can figure it all out. But my biggest concern when watching him is that, how will the play strength transition to the NBA where guys are bigger and stronger? So we'll find out about Raquan Gray. But outside of that, a lot of intriguing prospects here for the Nets. They got 5 draft picks. I know they were all 27th or later, but still, it's still 5 guys, and hopefully they can find a diamond in the rough that can hopefully come out and just somehow contribute to this team in the next couple of years. Now, if I had to guess, I think that Cam Thomas or Day'Ron Sharpe has the highest chance of that happening, of course, because they were picked higher and they are the more talented guys. But we'll find out if anybody else can really come through and make an impact on this team. So that'll do it for this video. Long video here talking Nets. I definitely enjoyed doing that, of course, and I will have more Nets videos in the future when things happen. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.